There's nothing better than getting a good workout and then looking at some charts. And that's exactly what we're going to do as we get into some technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, NVIDIA, AMD, and Meta going forward. Looking over at AMC and GME, maybe popping into a few things towards the end of this video. That's the important part, is AMC and GME. Seeing some crazy stuff, but something I wanted to touch on early on in this video is it gets a little rough for you if you try to short a short squeeze before you see structure, and exactly what we're talking about on Saturday, how this could really form, might actually play out here. So let's get into it. First of all, we have the SPY up on a 2-hour, and obviously we are very aware of the fact that we are seeing if this can curl down for that overall pullback. This is a very bullish trend. So if, I'd be kind of crazy to say, oh, there's reversal signals in here. There's not. We have some on the macro side of things still there, but the shorter time frames have gotten rid of them. So usually you'll have to see weakness in those shorter time frames to roll down those bigger ones, and that's important going forward. So since we're maybe going to see upward moves, we need those daily expected moves for tomorrow for the SPY. We do have 601.86 to the upside, and we do have 595.66 to the downside. Not a lot of implied volatility again. You see that sometimes with the short squeeze type of moves, and you kind of doodle around in those areas or gradually go up in those areas. So what are we looking for? Well, in order for a 2-hour to cross down, we need to see weakness. And first, I wanted to show you guys the 30-minute. Do we overall see weakness here, or do you more see a pullback with time? And in my opinion, we see a pullback with time. We've gotten out of those overbought conditions, and where I'd be more likely to see us get that 2-hour pullback is with a move like this one. We go up to a daily expected move, we cross up on this MACD, and then you see that curl down, and a little bit of weakness pops up for you. Now, there's always the chance for triple divergences, but you need to start to see these things in order to say, hey, this can head in the downward direction. Am I planning on shorting any kind of signal that I get on a 30-minute with this move? No, because short squeezes can be very, very tight. It can literally go up like this, completely consolidate down to these levels, and then curl back up after getting rid of those signals if we do get that 2-hour pullback, which I think is coming. And we do get some things coming out tomorrow with data and other things, so we'll pay attention to it. But we do not have reversal signals on this 30-minute. Now, to show you guys what I am really looking for, I really wanted to look at IWM. We do have the weekly expected moves for this. We don't have daily expected moves at this moment, but I wanted to show you what this 30-minute looks like. IWM would make more sense because you do have reversal signals here up towards that weekly expected move. Now, triple divergences, they happen all the time, right? This is kind of moving sideways. If that wants to head in the upward direction, hey, we could maybe see a tag of that weekly expected move, which is very likely when you are close to it. You kind of gravitate, they kind of act like magnets. And when price action gets close enough, they kind of go up to that, and then that kind of sell wall comes in. So some profit taking can take place. But I wanted to show you this look, because this is kind of what we're talking about forming on the SPY. And then look at IWM. It really looks like, hey, the 2-hour is way up there and that thing needs to pull back. So this is where the IWM might pull back, and that's why I'm pointing it out, because we don't see that similarity with the SPY. Now, we don't need divergences to head down. We just need to see if that 2-hour can cross. That has not happened for the SPY. So I think you still have a good likelihood, as this is mostly pulling back with time, mostly remaining at higher levels while the MACD gets by that center line, to curl up and see a tag of that upward expected move. The bearish case is if we don't make a divergence and we just cross over this 2-hour, we might be in pullback mode already, and we can pay attention to 595.66 for tomorrow. For the Qs, you notice that was not able to cross on the 2-hour. Okay, that was not able to cross on the 2-hour, which always invites us to be able to maybe tag that upward expected move. 517.45 for the Qs, upward expected move. The bottom side move is going to be 510.23 to the downside. Okay, so this has not crossed. If it does, you don't need divergences to head down, but it hasn't crossed yet, so that leads me to believe I have to watch out if it crosses for bearishness. But if it crosses up, because maybe a lot of the time in short squeezes, you like to make those weakness, and you like to see them get really close to the center line before they actually shift the trend down and you see a 2-hour pullback. So what's happening here? Well, ever since this point, yeah, we've moved up, we've moved down, but for the most part, we can see overall we are exactly kind of where we broke out to, and then when we started to slow down, we're still in that area. So pulling back at this point on the 30-minute, really close to the center line. The swing trade to the upside is there because you have two of the signals actually saying go. You're just waiting on that MACD. So if this does cross up, it means, hey, we can test that high, go make a new one. Where would that lead us to? Well, most likely our monthly expected move. This little zone in here right at that, between 517.45 and 518.66 would be very important if this MACD is able to cross up. Now that could be short-lived. Watch if some selling comes in later on in the day, because this thing could pull down by end of day or going into Wednesday, and that would lead you to believe what? Well, then we're actually forming some weakness in here that can be seen as divergence, which is weakness in momentum. That's what can turn over this 2-hour. And then we'll play it as it goes, right? We'll talk about it further because we already talked about this over the weekend, but even if this goes up, there's no weakness on the 2-hour to suggest that this can't make another move higher. That's very important to understand. We are looking for a signal outside of that monthly expected move. And the reason we're looking for that is because the weekly is outside of it. So that's a good chance to get outside of it, and a great level to pay attention to. That would be 523.74 for the Qs. Now, if you're part of the Patreon, you got those weekly expected moves for stocks like Apple. All the stocks that we do cover and more are on the Patreon, and we give out those weekly expected moves. And we gave an update video talking about the monthly expected moves, kind of what we are really looking for, what we can be patient and be looking for. At this moment for Apple, we had to pay attention if that 2-hour crossed down. If that 2-hour crossed down, you have a chance to do what? Test the low, go make a new one. And that is still probable. You've broken through an important zone, you've gotten a reaction into it, and this MACD is still turned down. So if this rejects, we could end up at these levels. But I wanted to talk about this wick, because if you're part of the Patreon, you know that wick touched exactly on the weekly expected move downside this week. So if we wanted to create a higher low, then the 30-minute is going to be able to curl back up, and we're going to be able to retake all of this in here, all of this in here. We're going to be able to fill that gap. If this is really going to go into a positive trend, we're going to take out this level. That's what I think Apple is saying here. If that's not able to, if that experiences weakness before you get really past 225.84, reject above that or reject from it, you can't really close above it on a 30-minute chart, then you might not be curling up that 2-hour. So something to pay attention to here is you're getting a green blip at the end of the day. You're close enough to positive territory to go positive, and that can take out this high and go make a new one. And you tested a weekly expected move telling you, hey, this is where we could bounce, and you're bouncing from this level. Tesla as well was very important with that update video over on Patreon, because this one is at an upside weekly expected move. Now, this is outside of a monthly expected move as well, so you're seeing something absolutely crazy for the month of November. So should I be randomly shorting this all the time? No, because this is a short squeeze, and you have no reversal signals still popping up here, and the ones you do have are very, very flat on this RSI, just suggesting a pullback is coming in some way. So I think the most likely thing for Tesla here is, one, to maybe make that move higher, go make that little divergence point on the 30-minute, and then curl down on that 2-hour. Now, what's different a few days ago, right? A few business days ago, a few trading days ago, we were talking about the fact that watch out for Tesla, because that could be a hint of weakness, and it curls up, right? It was never able to confirm that back down. So now we have a MACD that has exceeded this level. We have a very flat divergence, but it's only on the RSI and not the MACD at the same time. So that leads me to believe that as we get further and further away from that 5-day moving average, we could end up seeing a retest of that before making the next move higher, and that is the look that I would be paying attention to for Tesla. Amazon, a little bit different, was able to curl down on the 2-hour. Now, this was an overall test of the 5. So what we have to see here is, are we going to see a 30-minute and a 2-hour divergence at the same time? Is this going to be a 30-minute triple divergence at this point? Because this is interesting. You were able to go a little bit negative, but if you're testing that 5, it would suggest if this curls up, you still have a good shot to test this and go make a new one, go make a new high. And this is very, very controlled still. So even though that 2-hour has curled down, it's suggesting more downside is there. Maybe we do get some kind of lower high, little bit more likely, just barely more likely, because you're a little negative, but you're so close to the center line that it really looks like it wants to maybe test this high, go make a new one, maybe make a divergence there. And you're seeing, again, another little trend here. If we make those upward moves on 30 minutes, you're going to see a bunch of divergences on a bunch of charts at the same time. And that is very, very good to pay attention to when you're seeing, like if you're trading the SPY and the Qs and you're seeing all the same signals on a bunch of different stocks that make up the SPY and the Qs, it's a good insight that things might end up turning down. One chart that I like for Amazon is going to be the hourly. If the hourly makes some kind of move like this and then you see that weakness, that's when I think the real 2-hour pullback comes. So what I'm saying is I think the 30-minute might make this move or make some kind of upward move here. Once again, I'm not going to play a 30-minute swing trade. I'm going to wait for a 2-hour. And if this 2-hour is not able to confirm back up and it rejects the confirmation, it just rejects that, then we can see this thing actually pull back a little bit deeper. I'm kind of looking for a price point of maybe 200 at this point. We'll see. But for now, you're in a 2-hour pullback and you could continue to pull back because this is the bigger time frame. So if we're not going to curl up that 30-minute, the 2-hour is suggesting we have more work to do for Amazon, but I'd still be on my toes in case that 30-minute turns up. So 30-minute turns up bullish, 2-hour is suggesting that we might have more work to be done here. Now, this is a little bit worrisome for NVIDIA because you're still holding the divergence points. You're still holding these divergences rather flat on this one. So I think we're going to make another one right here. But that is a little bit of weakness coming in. It is not as controlled as other stocks. So that is something to pay attention to. But it is overall a reaction down to the 5-day moving average. So if this is saying anything, it's saying, hey, the 2-hour is telling you you might need to pull back a little bit more than this. Maybe for a gap fill down towards 139.50, and then we curl up into positive territory. Still talking about positivity, I'm just saying we might be going through that 2-hour pullback right now on stocks like NVIDIA and Amazon because they've already crossed down. But we can pay attention tomorrow if we're going to see positivity. Well, then this 30-minute is going to curl up and maybe that 2-hour is not able to cross and that comes back down. This will lead to a pullback across the board is more likely what I'm thinking here if we're actually able to make a little upside trap and then curl down on the rest of our 2 hours across the stocks that we're looking at. I think we're actually going to see that little 2-hour pullback. That could just be a pullback with time. We could just move sideways for a few days and then see another upward move. This does not have to mean things are coming down. This is a squeeze. So that's why I would say be very cautious shorting a short squeeze. If you need a reminder of kind of what we're looking at and how we're talking about these short squeezes, check out the video from Sunday because I think that one will help you out in the structure we're looking for and how to really treat a short squeeze with when to actually take the play. AMD, great stuff. Still getting that cup, still getting that handle, reacting down to the 5, seeing if that can turn up, and then we might make that divergence outside of this area. But this is a big cup. It's a big handle. So overall, if this 30-minute curls up, you should expect some positivity to come from it. That's why we have weekly expected moves over on Patreon. And the 2-hour here was not able to cross. So if that 2-hour gives up, hey, that can test the low, go make a new one, right? But if this 30 minutes going to say anything, and I think we are more likely to see this first and then see that 2-hour pull back a little bit deeper, or even just move sideways, right? So I think what pops up for you here is another divergence. I think this will pop up. This will be a fake out, then it'll curl down. That'll be a fake out, and the 2-hour is going to push a little bit higher. That's what I see happening for AMD, but just because I see it in my head doesn't mean it has to play out. I'm just going to follow the signals. I'm not necessarily going to take a trade with AMD because I just don't really like the stock, but I think it's a great thing that you're completing the cup, you're coming down to the 5 for the handle, and you're about to curl up. And if that does confirm, you're getting the confirmation on the RSI, you're getting the confirmation in the price action for the 30-minute, you just need that MACD to follow through, and then we'll watch out for some weakness signals. And what are we seeing again from Meta? We are seeing the 30-minute react down to the 5-day moving average. And that's important because we're seeing this a lot. Now, something with Meta is this is good because you're getting the flushing into a flag, flushing into a flag, and you have to be aware if that is going to cross down here. So because this has come down a little bit more dramatically, obviously the 30-minute would be bullish if that can turn up into positive territory after testing the 5 kind of twice here. But the way that this thing can come down, and I wanted to see, okay, it did not curl down the 2-hour. Meta's one that I didn't check the 2-hour before I started talking about it. The 2-hour here was not able to cross. Which if the 2-hour is not crossed by the end of the day, you always have to be aware of that 30-minute turning back up into positive territory to make the divergence, the weakness in momentum to actually cross that 2-hour. And that's something we've been talking about throughout the last 3 videos. You can't just take a play because it was a big upward move and you think it's going to fade. I know some people probably have some strategies for that. That's fine. But for a position trader like myself, I need to see that weakness in momentum or at least a bigger time frame swing. Okay, so I need to see that weakness in momentum, and that is something important during some kind of short squeeze in the overall market. That is going to be something important for Meta, looking for that 30-minute weakness before seeing that play actually happen or putting my money behind it. So the 2-hour can cross here. It can just flush right now. That's fine. I wouldn't have any signals to help me out in taking a trade. Bummer, right? Oh, I have to be more patient and look at a different stock. But if the 30-minute can curl up into positive territory here, beat this high and go make a new one, and then we make a divergence here, that's what I will be paying attention to for Meta. AMC in our update video over on Patreon, we were just talking about, hey, you need the 2-hour to curl up, right? We made our video, I think it was right at 11, and then this thing popped off like right after. Like right after I posted that video, it started to pop off. So hopefully, Patreon members, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you guys want to join the Patreon, that's fine. The link's down in the description. But maybe leave a like to this video if you're finding this information helpful, not trying to short a short squeeze just because. You have to try to short, especially during a short squeeze, you want to have 5 reasons to take that, because these markets nowadays are known to make 2, 3, sometimes 4 divergences on a 30-minute, sometimes a triple divergence on the 2-hour before these short squeezes give up. It will be great practice for if we do go into a bear market sometime in 2025. So that is what you need to be paying attention to. The fact that AMC was able to curl up on the 2-hour, that is fantastic. You have a shot. But notice the stock gets fought again, so that's important to see. If the 30-minute curls back down here, you do have the chance to go negative. Okay, you do have the chance to go negative, and that's important. You need to break through 478 in order to see something crazy. If that does happen, that's awesome. We'll be talking about it, and know that this is where the real fight begins for AMC. GME is already having the fight happen. You notice we're reacting up to where? 28.21. Now, I'm a little bit worried about GME going into tomorrow. You're seeing that downward move here, and the RSI really turning down from there by a weekly expected move, which tells me we could go through a 30-minute pullback. And that also tells me if they really want to fight the stock, right, this could be a 30-minute pullback. If that turns back up, awesome. It might be go time because that is so close to breaking through 28.21. It's great. But if this is going to pull back even more, the 2-hour can curl down here. If the 2-hour curls down, you might be in a downtrend on that 30-minute for a little bit of time, and then you'll have to see if that can curl back up into positive territory. Fantastic move, though. Great move to go positive. Great move to go positive on the MACD. We get that pullback right, and then we cross up into positive territory. Negative bar, well, yeah, positive bar a little bit, but I like a green bar. I like this one. And this is where you would say, okay, this thing has a chance and something really good happened. So GME, it does have a shot here, and that's going to be important for GME going forward, is to keep this 2-hour positive. We'll see if something crazy happens tomorrow. Volatility, we talked about this on the daily scale, saying if that crosses down, we're most likely going to see a short squeeze. It crossed down, and we're seeing a short squeeze. Now, that was on a big gap. That's unfortunate. But we can notice that the 30-minute is still by that center line. So if we're going to see weakness early on in the day, watch, that 30-minute might turn up. But what is it doing right now? It's pointing down, and it's trying to take back 1504, but right now you're trying to go negative. So if that's not curling up, then I shouldn't expect any volatility to come in. Now, if volatility does start to come in, let's say we make a 30-minute move up, volatility does not have to go up only if stocks are coming down. Volatility reacted up this morning and stocks were up. So we can notice that if the 2-hour is going to keep climbing here, let's say the 2-hour keeps climbing because this is some kind of higher low. If that starts to climb, maybe reacts to that 5-day moving average and then rejects and comes down to lower levels, we're going to watch out for the 2-hour divergence. And the timing of this would lead directly to all those 2-hour divergences forming on all those charts we just looked at. So thank you so much for watching the end of the video to talk about volatility, because if we see those signals and we see the signal from volatility at the same time, you might have yourself a solid little correction on the horizon. Let's just talk about TLT real quick. TLT reacting to a gray area. You're right back in this liquidity. You saw the move up. We made that 2-hour divergence again on the RSI. 4-hour divergence held all the way across this. Very wonky one, but it ended up being a good move, okay? If we really managed risk here and managed our position size, we should be okay. And this overall is saying, hey, I'm reacting up to this level and we have resistance above us. So if resistance is right above you, what do you want to do before you break through? We want that 30-minute to pile up and then see a good move. So what we're paying attention to as we get some data tomorrow is the 30-minute. Does it turn up on this MACD? Do we see this curl up into positive territory? That's going to be a big deal, because if we keep heading down and we cross over this 2-hour, you might see this go down a little bit deeper, maybe down towards this area. But even if you did and you were able to hold up, that would give you some solid little structure to overall maybe break through and head higher with some kind of slanted head and shoulders. So that's what I'm paying attention to for TLT. I think these yields do have the opportunity to drop right now, and that's something I'm paying attention to, which might actually mean IWM might see a further good move after a little bit of a correction. Okay, guys, so the main takeaway for this video is similar to yesterday, right? We're still watching this form. We're still watching it form. We're looking for those opportunities. And I think if we see that 30-minute divergence, we could see a 2-hour pullback and the opportunity might show itself in a simple swing trade to the upside. I do not see any weakness to the upside in these moves on 2-hour charts to suggest that we are going to drop in a dramatic fashion right now, but I'm watching and waiting to see if those things form. And I suggest that you guys keep your eyes on these charts, because they can form by the end of the week. They can form early next week, and that's something we'll pay attention to. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really do appreciate it. If you want to grab the course to learn how to do or take any trades that we're talking about, learn about the MACD, learn about the RSI, all those things are good. I've heard great things about it constantly ever since more and more people do invest themselves into some learning. So I appreciate that. And it's 90% off in November. Other than that, I really hope you have a great night, and I look forward to streaming with you tomorrow morning. All right, peace.